Hello, how are you doing? Question: what happens when religious cults put laws and restrictions on your dreams, your career, your occupation, your work life? And before I narrate chapter 6, my work life, I'm going to read you a quick story, an article in the Daily Mail about two elderly exclusive brethren sisters and what happened when laws were applied to their business and fiddled with their business. Here goes. Elsie and Winnie Rhodes, two elderly unmarried exclusive brethren sisters, ran a small egg farm at Watling Street in Staffordshire. In 1961, local brethren told them that under the new rules, they'd have to leave the egg marketing board or be withdrawn from. That means completely kicked out. The small red stamp of the marketing board was, brethren told them, the sign of Satan's system. Deprived of their livelihood, the sisters quickly fell into debt. A cousin, concerned that she had not heard from them for some time, drove to the farm, but Elsie and Winnie didn't open the door. We were shocked by what we found, the cousin told the journalist. The farm, once a prosperous family business, had been horribly neglected. The hen pens hadn't been cleaned out and the gates were hanging on the hinges. In June 1962, forced to sell their small holding and terrified of the consequences, Elsie and Winnie walked together into a local lake and drowned themselves. That's what happened to these two poor ladies who were bound with burden of law, religious law on their shoulders that they couldn't bear. They couldn't cope with it. And this chapter, my work life, I just talk a bit about how my work life was affected growing up in the exclusive brethren. And so here's chapter 6. I left school just before I turned 16. Options to work in the world were very limited, as I could not take up any employment where I had to work Saturdays or evenings, sign the official Secrecy Act, join a union, or be a member of any professional association, which is what happened to these two ladies when the new law came in. I think it was difficult for my dad to advise me. He had to leave his career in the bank when the new exclusive brethren rules were introduced, and he was struggling himself. And so he'd been working in a bank in a good job for I think about 20 years. All of a sudden one day, bang, a new law comes out from the man of God, and he, like many of hundreds of other brethren, had to instantly leave their jobs. I know my dad, he had to sign the official Secrecy Act, I believe, for the bank, and he was forbidden to do so. One day he brought a leaflet home which was a list of courses on offer in the then Chilwell College of Further Education in Liverpool. Though we were not allowed to go to university, apparently I could go here if I wanted to this college. The only course that interested me was photography. I enrolled, and for the next 9 months had a wonderful time learning and practicing what is still a passion to this day. These were the days back in 1983 of analogue film, Pentax K1000s, medium format Minoltas, and developing and printing in a darkroom. One afternoon my tutor Phil took me to a photographer's in Liverpool city centre's Hope Street called John Mills Photography. We were there to collect some paper. I reckon a pivotal moment in my life happened here. While waiting in the reception area, Phil asked me, since I love photography so much, if I would like to apply here for a job. I asked him what it would involve. He told me I would probably have to work some Saturdays. Straight away I said no, as I knew that I was not allowed to work Saturdays, because we were forbidden to work Saturdays, so that ruled that one out. I reckon by having my horizons broadened through my time at college in those 9 months, I learnt that there is another world out there to explore. Yet I was forbidden, utterly forbidden to explore it. And it was unthinkable anyway, because it would finish my time and life with my family and friends in the exclusive brethren. When I was 17 and a half, I started working for an exclusive brethren business called Textile Service. The basis I agreed to work for them was that by the time I was 19, I would be earning enough to save up for a mortgage on a house. It was very important for young people to get a mortgage as soon as possible, get married as young as possible, and of course that was to make sure that the chances were you'd stay in the brethren, as it's far harder to leave, of course, when you're married. I would be earning, this company, they supply the textile and clothing manufacturers mostly around the northwest, And for the first 6 months, I made ironing board padding and covers, dispensed cleaning fluid and oil into small containers, and prepared orders. After 6 months, I started delivering the products all over the Northwest and selling them on a commission basis. As I travelled around meeting people and experiencing different cultures, I realised that there was more to life than the enclosed and stifling regime that I had been born into. At 19, I gave in my notice at Textile Service as I was not earning what I had been promised. I looked in the Daily Telegraph and saw an advert saying, "Get rich now, ask me how." I went to a meeting in the Tickle Trout, a pub in Leyland, Lancashire, and signed up to be a Herbal Life distributor. Their theory was that we don't absorb all the nutrition we need because we are all clogged up with additives, preservatives, flavourings and colourings in our food. We therefore needed their herbs, or as they call it, herbs, to clean our colons so that we could absorb the nutrition we needed, taking away the desire to overeat, which makes people overweight. The products were mainly aimed at the weight loss market. When I used to start something, I would throw everything I had into it until I got bored. I took their products religiously. I lost 14 pounds in the first fortnight and felt great. With this impetus, I started selling their products, earning a living income, and in the 2 years that I sold Herbal Life, I recruited about 50 agents. By the end of the 2 years, I had realised that I was not going to make a quick million. The products, though fantastic, were too expensive for most people in the area. Also, I discovered that most people, in Merseyside anyway, don't stick to a commission-only jobs. They just want a fixed income. Excuse me. When my dad had to leave his banking career, he started selling Clean Easy products door to door. He built up a round for 5 years, then decided to start up his own cleaning supplies company. He offered me his Clean Easy round and I took it over. At that time, I bought my first car with the NatWest bank loan, with a bank loan of £3,500. It was a cream Peugeot 308 SR. It even had electronic windows. I paid the bank loan off in the first 6 months, then realised that this Clean Easy job wasn't going to land me a quick million, so I started more ventures. I signed up to sell NSA water filters, again finding that they were too expensive to make it into the big time. I tried manufacturing flagstones, manufacturing my own line of face and hand cream. I started JD International because I liked the name, and I started importing false teeth from Japan and knickknacks from China. I started a mail order business selling information and a leaflet delivery company. There were more crazy ideas that I tried, and by the time I was 21, I found myself off in search of another business venture at another business meeting in the Tickle Trout again. It just so happened. Yeah, in those 15 years, actually, I tried about 40 jobs. I was only interested in making a quick million. I was chasing money. Don't do it. I walked into the meeting and sat next to a tall, unless you want to chase money, of course, feel free. I walked into the meeting and sat next to a tall, slim, blonde girl in a shimmering silver dress like Diana Ross. The dress, I mean. She was single, stunning and vivacious, and I found out that she was to be my upline if I signed up for the job. The job was selling Leur perfumes. It wasn't a difficult decision to make. These were excellent imitations that didn't fade in 5 minutes and were virtually identical to the real thing. The most popular were, I remember, Giorgio of Beverly Hills, Coco Chanel and Chloe. The samples were in little crystal bottles which fitted neatly into a smart burgundy case, which I used to show prospective customers. I decided to take this case into every office in the Northwest that I could find, which I did, with the following pitch which was extremely successful. I would walk into a building or office and say to the receptionist, "Hello, I wonder if you could give me your opinion on some perfume, please." Nobody ever said no. Women love to give their opinion on perfume. I left samples for the whole office and came back to collect the orders. Quite a few office blocks had a concierge at the entrance that prevented salesmen like me getting in. Necessity being a mother of invention, I would walk up to them confidently, and from the notice board listing the companies in the building, I would read the company name on the top floor. I would then ask him which floor that company was on, and he would let me in. I would get the lift to the top floor and work my way down via every office. And when I got to the first floor, I would get the lift to the ground floor so the concierge would see me get out of the lift and it wouldn't look suspicious. I sold lots of perfume and recruited about 40 other distributors, but again found that most people wanted a fixed income job and weren't prepared to really put the time and effort in to make themselves and me rich. The funny thing was that in all the ventures I tried, I seriously believed I would make a quick million. I was naive to say the least and hyper over optimistic, but I had a lot of fun and great experiences on the way. I was experiencing the good big world and getting to know people, and I was realizing that there was more to life than the tight controlled restrictions of the cult. It was in my 18th month era selling their own perfumes that I was to leave the Exclusive Brethren. During the previous 3 years, I had been able to travel and meet over 1,000 people. I was experiencing life outside the confines of the Exclusive Brethren. I was becoming more aware of the narrow-mindedness and judgmentalism, the despising of those worldlies. The contrast to the dryness of the daily meetings, the temporary feeling of freedom from restrictions, and the condemning of the so-called worldly things. I was still totally indoctrinated into still believing that the Exclusive Brethren system was the only right position, and yet inside me I was experiencing a dichotomy, a questioning, a conflict of making sense of what this world was all about. It's hard to put in words, but maybe I was feeling like a tree that is being continually trimmed at the roots and doesn't understand why it feels that it should be growing a lot taller and faster, but it isn't. A question I'm left with is, how much did my Exclusive Brethren years affect my growth and development? And so it's a bit of a sad thing, isn't it, if you can grow up in life and your career, your occupation, your dreams can be affected negatively by a group of religious people who think that their values and rules are what you should come under, and they put you under these rules with the threat that should you disobey, you're going to lose your family. Is that your experience? If so, could you put some comments in the comment description box below and share what it was like for you? And were you restricted? Were you restrained from turning out and being what you really want to be? Thank you for listening. Chapter 7 is, how did it actually feel growing up in a religious cult? And what were the ramifications